Inco noted Chapter 2 by Arloch. To their credit, the Dilo duo made great time. Damien practically crashed into the room with an armful of boxes, with Randy following behind, chastising his son for the commotion. Damien had brought the motherload. Wow, I didn't think I'd ever. I don't think I'd ever really seen the pains of a game night that didn't involve a game console and their TV. But clearly, they had a secret stash somewhere, because they brought a dozen different games for us to try. As Damien laid out the spread of options on the floor for consideration, I couldn't help but smile a little. He still looked ragged, but he was acting like his old self again. Part of that was probably a bit of a show to make things feel more normal, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't appreciate it right now. As I mulled over the options before me, Randy passed me some fast food, a burger, double specifically, and fries, and a soda. I ravaged the burger immediately, earning a hearty laugh from the father-son duo. "We'll make you a proper carnivore yet," Randy exclaimed. "Looks like at the next cookout I'll have to put up properly." I paused for a moment. "The next one, huh?" I looked at the two. They were already weighing in the options on which game to play as they snacked away at their meals. We were down 3 other members of our group, but there was a flash of normalcy again. It was the pains experience that I'd grown to love. I couldn't help but smile. "Yeah, I think there'll be a next time." "So, son, which one grabs your interest?" Randy finally turned to me to act as the final arbiter of our evening's entertainment. I looked over the options. Some are more classical board games, dice and cards, and playing mats and the like. One was a big, monstrous box that looked like some kind of role-playing game. While they did seem interesting, I don't think we had the time tonight. Also, it felt like those would be better served with a larger group than just the 3 of us. No, those would be for another time. I looked at some of the more reserved options, and one caught my eye. "You have Pictionary?" I jotted down on my notepad. "Sure do. Figured an artist would want the artistic option. My boy here never got into drawing all that much." The elder plane answered. This elicited a small, playful growl from Damien. "Well, I suck too. Even the playing field," I retorted. Damon's eyes lit up as if there was an agreeable notion. "Ah, hey, you'll be getting a lot of practice with a pen and paper now, huh?" he said. Immediately as the words left his mouth, his hand snapped his snoot shut, his eyes wide. "Damien!" Randy hissed. "No, no." I gargled with my hand, trying to diffuse the faux pas. I hoisted myself from the bed, both feeling a little bit more sure of myself than a trip to the bathroom. With a motivation to help dig Damien out of the hole he just jumped into. This caught both their attention and they rose to meet me, but I just slid my way down onto the floor with the whole thing. "Pictionary's fine, you're right, I'll need a practice," I squalled. Randy accepted the message but still held his disappointed father expression while looking to Damien. Damien, for his part, sheepishly scratched the back of his head with that same smile he always had. I stared at him for a moment and remembered my second day at St. Hammond. I ate with Damien and Olivia and found out that, without a shred of malice in him, he spread rumors about my date with dodgeballs, and again later when it turned out he let slip about Olivia's old nickname. The Dalaboyan for me had a perpetual habit of well-meaning foot-to-mouth syndrome that also rivaled mine, and then surprising everyone in the room, most of all myself. A giggle bubbled up from within me. Before I knew it, it had transformed into a belly laugh. Even after all that happened, Damien was still undeniably, categorically Damien, and I couldn't help but laugh. The dino pair across from me were clearly pleased I wasn't angry, but quite confused at the sudden outburst. As the laughter died down and I wiped my eyes, I grabbed my notepad. "I'm glad you're you, Damien." I showed the note with a smile. was clearly taken aback by the note, though Randy read it and finally found himself a little more at ease. With a bit of awkwardness over, we settled in to play some Pictionary, and in true familial fashion, the pair playfully ribbed me at how truly awful my drawing skills were. Looking at the sketches before me, I couldn't help but completely agree. Even after only a few minutes after completing a sketch, I would look back and already begin getting hazy on what I was supposed to have drawn down on the paper. It's a wonder that Olivia put up with attempts at teaching me to paint at all. That thought spot that thought sparked another pang in me. No, it's a wonder that Olivia put up with me at all. After a moment, I realized that the other two were staring at me, and I felt I had quite a frown on my face. "You good, man?" Damon asked. I tried to shake my head, but the neck brace made it a gentle wobble at best. I couldn't wait for this to be removed. I put a hand at them and scrawled a note, my hands starting to cramp from the workout they were receiving today. "It's nothing," thinking. They shot each other a look, and then Randy checked his watch. It's probably getting on for us to leave anyways. I'll be cleaning this out soon regardless. We all stood, though. I had a wobblier time than them, and Randy helping me hoist myself back into the bed. Damien finished up cleaning the board games, and stuck them under the chair next to the bed, clearly planning on picking back up where we left off at a later time. I like that idea. As Damien turned to say something, a yawn overtook him. I was honestly impressed by its intensity. I think he unhinged his jaw and almost made a full 180-degree span in his mouth. Fortunately, this also set off a yawn in both myself and Randy as well. My poor jaw control not stopping my yawn from being so strong I felt the joint pop. "Sorry, I guess it's contagious," Damien smirked. "That it is. It's been a long day for all of us. Come on, son. Let's head back home for now," Randy said, patting Damien on the shoulder before looking to me and continuing. "I'll be back in the morning for whatever that specialist gets here." I nodded in my reply, but Damien took a step towards the bed. "One sec, Pops." He leaned close to me, a somberness in his expression, and he raised his face to block my view from his dad. It was a secret meeting. "Hey man, I'm glad you're doing better. I know you said we'll talk later, and we will, but this is important." I nodded, felt compelled to swallow the lump in my throat. It's in anticipation of what was next. "I don't forgive you. I can't yet. That's probably not what you want to hear, but what you did was..." His eyes turned away and he snorted in frustration before continuing. "But I can see you're different, if only a little. I think you're trying, and I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, alright?" I contemplated that for a moment, and then gave a slow, definitive nod, as much as the neck brace allowed, maintaining eye contact with his intense expression. He held my gaze for a moment longer before dropping his frills, and the smile returned. "Awesome. Good to hear it, man. I'll try and swing by sometime tomorrow, yeah?" I flashed him a thumbs up as he made for the door. Andy, however, watched him make the trip and then turned his expression on me, a furrowed brow that told me that despite Damon's protective frills blocking line of sight, it did nothing to preserve the secretness of our secret meeting. Yet another Damien moment. I would have laughed at it, but Randy still killed the sensation. "I think Inco's got something he wants to tell me real quick, Damien. You can head on to the car. I'll be down in a moment." Damien looked back and I flashed him a thumbs up, which was enough to send him off. Unfortunately for my sense of ease, Randy retook his seat next to my bed. "I know you're putting off your talk with Damien, whatever that means, but why did he say he can't forgive you, Inco?" And there it was. I felt the knot forming in my gut, but even after everything, Randy had gone out of his way for me. Trying to shy away from this would only make it worse. I grabbed the notepad and sat for a moment, trying to think of how to start this conversation I really didn't want to have. Several false starts scratched out beginnings. Randy was patiently Randy was patient, but sternly waiting through it all. Eventually, I settled on a starting point we probably all agreed on. I heard Olivia. He read the message and returned his gaze to me. You heard her? Did you try and talk to her at all since you got your phone back? A long, slow sigh escaped my lips. No, I scratched. Look, son, I know that things are sensitive right now, but the only person Olivia's ever opened up to like that was you. Sure, obviously things didn't go well at formal, but I think she'd like to hear from you that you're okay at least, Anya cried. His voice carried a subtle hint of concern, though I couldn't quite place it. If that was for Olivia or for me, I certainly didn't deserve it if it was. I put pen to paper again, but like before, it was slow going. I was beginning to notice that one benefit of his condition was it really I was beginning to notice that one benefit of this condition was it really, truly forced me to consider what I was going to say before I said it. I had many moments where I opened my mouth where I shouldn't have. I put in my 2 cents where I shouldn't have. Tried to be clever when I shouldn't have. Now, now I had to consider what I would say, a safety net for my stupid mouth and stupid brain. I thought back to the various times my help only made things worse. There was many times, so many times in the last months, with almost practically a non-stop stream of it. But there were other, there were other moments that hurt almost as much, like when I tried to be so brave and so smart, my and save my fair gator maiden from the bullies. I just made myself look like a total ass. To his credit, Ronnie continued to give me the time I needed to work out what to write. I was thankful to him, though I felt a slight bit of regret knowing Damon was probably standing out in the parking lot wondering what was taking so long. Eventually, I settled on what to say next. I'm scared. Scared? Scared of what? Olivia? Some last lines to scratch out as what I wanted to say started to become more concrete in my mind. I'd always followed the slightest bit of pressure, the slightest bit of resistance. I had been totally spineless until my injury, and I know where that landed me. I was terrified because I don't think Damon told Randy anything about what happened at the winter formal, and I was scared that coming clean would upend the only lifeline that had been cast to me since I woke up. But if I was going to make things better, I couldn't keep it secret. If this was the final blow for the fragile support I'd built up today, then it was never meant to be. Not that I deserved it in the first place. Was it sickly sensation of resolve? Or that or just relenting to what reality was now? I faced the gallows, and Randy Payne, patriarch of his household, would be my judge and jury, and if there was some small mercy in this world for the wretched I am, not my executioner. I began to write. I began to write. No scratch outs or restarts this time. Just a slow, deliberate scroll. I'm scared to talk to Olivia again. Like if I ever mention her, this time she would break forever. Randy read the words, looked over to me, and looked over his shoulder, almost as if expecting Damon to be there. He mulled on that for a moment, and then looked back at me. What happened at the home Inco? Tell me the truth now, son. His voice was low, but even. What did Damien tell you? I inquired. Almost nothing. He said you did something bad, hurt Olivia, then when you went to chase after her, he stopped you and you two fought. First stopped him and dislocated his elbow in the process. Then the next thing anyone knew was finding Olivia screaming for help on those stairs. Damien, he thought you had died. Those last words were choked out. This man legitimately cared that I had almost, that his son had thought I was dead. It's a terrible accident. God, I wish it was that simple. I took a steadying breath, long and slow, to settle myself. This man deserved the full picture. Here we go. I folded over the notepad for a new page and began to write. It was somewhat jumbled, admit, that between the injury and intensity of emotion of the night, some parts were hazier than others, but I laid out everything I could remember, starting with the shopping detour. I wrote down about how dismissive I realized I was at Olivia's choice in dress, how I tried to placate her with expensive purchases, how things shook down at the formal where I pressured her about the eulogy, how I was buddy with her school bully. I took Ben's side on things, how I danced with her bully instead of her, how I how I had taken those pictures in her moment of weakness, never considering the emotions she was fighting with were real. I continued to write, my pace picked up, my lettering became worse, both from the steady, boiling self-hatred and the cramping in my hand. I wrote down Damien confronted me more than once about Olivia, and that final time after the picture was when he destroyed my camera and gave me a black eye. How if Ferris hadn't stopped him, he would have continued to beat me. How Ferris dislocating his son's elbow gave me a window to scurry away like the bug that I was to find Olivia. Finding Olivia at the top of the stairs, a horrible, insensitive attempt at talking to her, knowing that every awful thing everyone's ever said to her was true, but I would forgive her, and my attempt at forcing a hug that ultimately almost got her killed. I finished out the recap of my life story that night, writing that the only good thing I did that night was sacrifice myself for her. My needing to be contemplative of what I wrote saved me from jotting down that I felt like I should have just died from it, and how simpler it would have made things. I stole periodic glances at Randy, whose expression was clouding the longer my writing went. You could tell a storm was coming, but he was powerless to divert the course now. I finished my scroll. It was several pages and became almost illegible by the end. I massaged my aching hand and read back through. I don't want to miss anything important. Everything would be laid out, and then I'd be up to him to decide my fate. As contented with it as I could be, I flipped the pages back to the start and, only hesitating once, handed the notepad to Randy before gesturing for him to read. I took a long breath and then it began. It was thorough. Read it twice. Watching him flip back the beginning and read through it all again turned my guts into knots. I wanted this. We both needed this. But I felt like I would die at any moment, anticipating where this was going. Over the course of this reading, the, the concerned look faded. He never looked angry, but by the time he finished reading, he looked like he had aged. He looked so tired. After Jesus, Randy, I'm so sorry. Gingerly handed me the notepad back to me and then pinched at his eyes and took several labored breaths trying to steady himself. When he finally calmed himself down, he quietly stood and only uttered, "I see." It was quiet, it was cold, it was done. I cleared the only thing holding my life together. I cleaved the only thing holding my life together today with the truth, and I deserved that entirely. I sank back into bed, exhausted beyond relief. Ramsay quietly made his way to the door. Just before opening it, he paused. He didn't look back at me, but he did talk at me. "Call me when the specialist arrives tomorrow, so I can be here, Inco. Please." "Yeah," slurred out my reply, and he was gone. I could feel my face contort into a mess, and quiet, tearless sobs racked my body. I don't know when I had fallen asleep, but I easily felt that what sleep I got did me little favor. My waking was fairly quick, bright and early in the morning, but I did nothing for the next hour at least. I just laid there, staring at the ceiling. The nurse doing routine checks helped me use the restroom again, though, other than being emotionally hollowed out, my body at least had enough strength to make the journey this time. I wordlessly laid back in bed, staring into space, and the nurse departed. I was alone with my thoughts again. He was still going to act as my guardian while my parents were wherever they were. Raptor Jesus knows I didn't deserve it in the least, but if Randy and the pain are anything, it's kind of a fault. I had a moment of being inclined to reach for my new phone, but even that felt like it took too much effort. What would I ever do on it right now? What even would I do on it right now? Watch some stupid video about a game I've never played? I was disgusted at my own shallowness, disgusted at my way of thinking, disgusted at my behavior. Hell, I was beginning to be disgusted with being disgusted at myself. Having spent the quiet time in the last day and a half looking back on everything that led up to where I was now, I quietly resolved to myself that I would never forgive myself for it. But that didn't mean I was going to drag anyone else down into that pit with me. Hating myself was my penance, but not my absolution. If the Pains and Olivia never wanted to see me again once I had done what I could to make things right, I was fine with that. It turned my stomach into knots when I realized that, but it was the correct way to go with it. I couldn't force my stupidity on people anymore. That was what got us where we currently work. What I could do now was actually be useful for once in my life and help. The next time the nurse came in, shortly before lunch, I had a few questions jotted down on my notepad, which she was more than happy to answer. First, the speech language pathologist was due to be here at 1:30 this afternoon. Next, I asked how much a new quality wheelchair cost. She tried to assure me that my injuries didn't necessitate it before I corrected my notion by explaining that I accidentally damaged it. Friends, and I wanted to help replace it. She gave me a smile, and she gave me a smile of surprise and warmth at my apparent kindness. I'm sure she'd carry a much worse expression if she knew the context, but there was no point in burning her with the truth. Lastly, I asked when the neck brace would come off. She said she wasn't sure, but she would see to it that Dr. Nikkei told me later. I gave her my thanks, and she was on her way again. Didn't want to have her waste too much time on me. She was certainly busy. I opened my contacts on my new phone and tapped the contacts for the Payne's household number. The phone rang a few times before it was picked up. I'd expected Randy, but instead left Miss Payne instead. Hello, Sophia speaking. Oh, right. I'm an idiot. I just realized my mistake of calling someone while not being able to speak properly. God, I'm stupid. I growled out something that hopefully sounded like sorry and ended the call. I flipped over to Demon's contact and texted out a message in, trying to pass along the special via 1:30 to tell his dad, or just a message sent, marked as read, after millions of dots indicating Damien was starting to clean his reply, settled on okay. Maybe it's water in my nose, right? That was probably the least I've ever gotten from Damien in a text. No doubt he heard that Randy now knows everything, and that put the mood at the Paynes in an even worse place. Damien obviously knew everything already. He was there for most of it and probably got the blanks filled in by Olivia. But still, the curt reply kinda hurt when I reflected on how things were ever so slightly better last night before I had left. I could turn on the TV or keep browsing my phone, but never held any appeal to me. I let my phone plop into my lap and I just stared at an indeterminate point in space, letting my mind wander. Lunch came and went. I didn't have any appetite, but I did force down some small nibbles and drank my fluids. Last thing is, last thing I would need is for them to think I was starving myself. True is the word. Randy arrived at about 1 p.m. ahead of when the specials would arrive, and that he would that he was here in the middle of the day in the middle of a week means he once again called into work to take care of his son. I was too tired to even feel guilt over that misapplication of effort. He only said a short greeting and then took up his seat by the bed and got back his book that he brought here overnight. I couldn't tell what was going through his mind, but if he actually despised me, I don't think he would be here. I also didn't have the courage to break the silence. My efforts last night certainly strained things already, and he certainly told Miss Payne about it as well. But he still showed there was a small, infinitesimal chance that he wouldn't cut me off when the guardianship duties were done. It was the best I could hope for right now. The specialist ended up being about 10 minutes late, but I didn't fault him, though that skill set would certainly be in demand in various places. He had to travel here to meet me in the first place. What was surprising, slightly, is that he was human, like me. He had a much darker complexion and a close trimmed haircut and beard, both of which were thoroughly salt and peppered, but definitely human. He, he introduced himself and explained that over the next little while he would be performing various tests on me to figure out the specifics of my condition. I nodded in confirmation. I understood, and Randy moved himself to one of the other seating chairs on the other side of the room, giving me space to work. The tests were surprisingly simple in practice. He gave me various things to try and say, maybe try and deduce from facial expressions to make various non-word utterances, writing things down, attempting to answer questions, and work out word puzzles. They took some blood samples as well. He informed me they had already given me scans of my brain, so that wasn't required for today. As we did them, it was very calming to listen to. This was a man entirely in his element, with years of experience working with people in difficult positions, and he did a great job of making me feel at ease. The various tests done, he excused himself to talk with Dr. Nikkei, leaving me alone with Randy once again. I laid, back my, I laid myself back in bed, resolving myself to silence when he finally spoke up for the first time since we got here. How are you feeling today, son? He still sounded beyond tired. He didn't sound angry.